Welcome to the Lawless Astrology channel. My name is Dabney, and I am welcoming my dear friend Celeste Brooks, who is also an astrologer, and she loves to talk about politics, and she talks about mundane astrology, and she has a specialization in all things the moon. So many of you are already familiar with her, but if not, please do check out her YouTube channel, her Instagram. She has courses that you can check out. She's just an all-around fount of knowledge. I'm sure you've seen her all sorts of places. So welcome, Celeste.
Thank you for having me, Dabney. I'm so happy to be here.
So today, what we're going to be talking about, because she is the master at the moon, so we're going to be talking about the eclipses. So we're going to talk about both the September 7th and the September 21st eclipse. I get the dates right, yeah. Um,
Hmm.
and why this month is kind of an ass show. Like it's an intense month. So be aware in your own life. We're going to talk a little bit about how like you can kind of nurture and care for yourself during this time, but also we're going to look at the politics. So I know a lot of times people get excited when we look at, the more mundane trends and what we think we can expect. And this is a busy month. So Celeste, do you want to start with the September 7th eclipse and set that one up?
Yes, but let's just start from today, where we're talking on September 1st. We have a big energetic shift today where Saturn, the planet of discipline, duty, hardship, the Grim Reaper, Saturn is boundaries, and it's one of the social planets. So Jupiter and Saturn are the social planets, and their interactions have a lot to do with what we're experiencing as a collective. Now it moved into Pisces in 2023, March of 2023, and then it left the sign and went into Aries in May 24th of this year. Now Saturn's gone back to 29 degrees of Pisces. It's retrograde and it's finishing up some work it had to do in your life. So some people are going to be knocked on their backsides because things they thought were done are not quite done yet. And yeah, Pisces is a water sign. It's emotional. It has to do with like it's stormy weather. The big event that happened today, two big events happened today. There was an earthquake in Afghanistan, and when we have these big kind of movements of those kinds of planets, sometimes we have stuff like that. And the EU leader was traveling by plane and her communications were jammed. It's thinking that it's Russia, and they had to use maps, like physical maps. And that's paperwork is a big thing, and communications is a big thing in this eclipse season, which I can get to. But they had to use maps in order to land. So this is a huge thing about the instability and ending, because Saturn is structures in this water sign. It gets wobbly. And I really feel like that interference, that deception is a big story about what we may be seeing in the coming weeks through this eclipse cycle. So I went on and on about that, but I think it's important.
It's very important. So let me throw my 2 cents in about Saturn going back into the sign of Pisces. So I want to look at it through an opportunity lens because I think that Saturn went into Pisces a couple of years ago, and frankly, it was a struggle. And we also saw two very old men run for president, and here Saturn is, it's age, it's father time. Okay, so we have two men who are, for most people, are in their twilight years, retirement, or kind of home with the grandkids. And here both of these men were vying to be the leaders of the world, the leader of the free world. Well, that didn't go so great for anybody, right? We all saw what happened to Joe Biden, and we all know what we're experiencing right now. And so it's really interesting that Pisces is the formlessness, right? And so here we have Saturn going back into Pisces, where there's a little bit of a redo. There's a little bit of a like, okay, these were the decisions we made from 2023 to 2025 in our own personal lives and on the world stage. Here's what we all collectively, felt like was a good idea. And we all know where we are today. And so, we get this last dip back for a few months to try and do it again. And the high side, the highest expression of Saturn in Pisces is someone with wisdom, somebody who actually has compassion, who has a sense of right and wrong for the good of everybody. There is this kind of, because Saturn is definitely morality and there's a karmic element, but then Pisces is very much about like doing right by people emotionally and like there's people starving right now there's a genocide taking place. And we've seen as Saturn went into Aries, like this acceleration of some of these kind of um, stressful elements in our lives, the more violent elements. And so now it's like, okay, can we go back and like do this right? Can we have compassion for people? Can we see the bigger picture? Can we take a more spiritual path? So I think, unfortunately, a lot of what's going on right now will not give us that opportunity to impact the world stage, but we can get it right on our own personal level.
Well, Greta Thunberg and a group of people, I think they left today. It might have been
Yeah, I think so
yesterday,
too.
but they left for a second chance, taking this flotilla to Gaza to try to bring humanitarian aid. So that really speaks to what you said. I like how you said it brought it back. Yeah, and Saturn's back in Pisces until February. So there's a lot of time to do some review and get
Yeah,
things
and I think
right,
there's
like you
some
said.
buyer's remorse out there from some people. And so this is an opportunity to kind of click into, and lock into what is it that we want to focus on, because Saturn wants you to focus. Saturn wants you to do the hard work. And sometimes that hard work is admitting where you're wrong or where you're putting your energies in the wrong place. It wants you to put your energies into something that will actually be very fulfilling on a spiritual level. That is the highest side of that, is like spiritual discipline. So this is a great time if you've ever wanted to have a meditation practice, or you have ever been interested in studying astrology. Actually, this is a good time, I think, to kind of let people know, especially since the eclipses are happening, that Celeste has a course coming up. Like, you can enroll now, and I've got all the information below, and it's called Proper Care and Feeding of Your Moon. And so, really kind of taking care of your emotional side, but with discipline. Like, have discipline, and have discipline around your empathy for people. Like, draw better boundaries where you may need them, because this is not going to be an easy month. So we can talk a little bit more about your course, but is there anything you wanted to quick share before we move on to the eclipse?
Yeah, let's move on to the eclipse, and then I'll
Okay.
tell a little bit about it later. Yeah,
Okay.
and so tomorrow Mercury moves into the sign of Virgo, where it's at home and it's strong. But the first thing it does is square Uranus. So this week, before we even get to the eclipse, there's a lot of energy and buzzy energy, and there may be surprise announcements or unexpected sudden kind of strikes kind of thing. And on September 3rd, which I think is directly related to the eclipse, because Virgo is the sign of the maiden or the virgin, and Mercury communicates, and Uranus rules shocking things, and it's in Gemini, which rules children. So they're going to square. And then on Wednesday, September 3rd, Jeffrey Epstein's victims are meeting with two Congress people in Washington, D.C. Ro Khanna, a Democrat, and it's Tom
Massey.
Massey, the Republican. So, what are they going to say? What are they going to share about how they were treated by the rich and the powerful and used? And Uranus and Gemini, a big part of it, I think, is about child abuse. There was this big thing this weekend where this rich CEO, and it's important that he's like a CEO type, grabbed a hat. So they were at was it a soccer game or a baseball game?
Yeah, it was like tennis or soccer. It was
It
something,
was some kind of sports game,
yeah,
and this player was
tennis.
going to give a child, Gemini, a hat, and this grown man snatched the hat from the child and put it in his bag, and then later tweeted something about, well, I've moved faster, so I get it, it's mine. And he's a Polish CEO, and I'll be shocked if he has a job next Monday because it was done as the light of the moon is growing. So more and more and more and more people are going to see this. And what's happening on Friday is Uranus is stationing to go retrograde, to pull back the tape so that we can see what happened beneath it. And I bet the board of directors may be calling him in to talk to him about taking that kid's hat, and they can't be having to do with him. He's going to be world famous. Other companies can't have them. This is very similar to the guy on the kiss cam. We're seeing with Pluto and Aquarius opposite Leo, these Leo people who think they're so special, they are above the law, nothing applies to them, being taken down. I think he's going to lose his job. We'll see. Maybe it's different in Poland, but
Yeah, well,
but I think that's one of the events.
as a PR person, I definitely saw the apology that the PR person wrote. I'll tell you a little secret. They don't write any of those apologies. People like me do. And oftentimes they never mean it. And oftentimes don't even see it. So just so you know. Okay, that's a little inside
Yeah.
baseball on my part.
So and then we have the eclipse in Pisces on Sunday. So all this wind up to say that with this eclipse, and it's a lunar eclipse first before the solar eclipse. And when the lunar eclipse comes first, there's some big emotional thing that happens where all is revealed. And then 2 weeks later at the new moon, you do something related to the full moon kind of thing. And last year we had a lunar eclipse in Pisces, and one of the things that happened was the pager bombs going off in Lebanon. So Israel we got the reveal of their multi-year plan about putting explosives in these pager bombs. And then 2 weeks later, like Iran launched an unsuccessful attack against Israel. So that's an example, but that's when the nodes were in Aries and Libra. Now they're in Virgo and Pisces. So Pisces rules illness is one of the things, deception, forgiveness, charity, drugs, that sort of thing. And Virgo is health, details, systems, the rank and file of militaries, the workers of
The
corporations.
CDC.
The CDC, that's an event where they walked out. Yeah. Yeah. So there's the shock comes first and then the realization. So we see like last week, the CDC people were fired, walked out, whatever. And now Bernie Sanders is calling for RFK Jr. to be fired because of, him compromising our health with his crackpot stuff. He says, I think he's a crackpot. He said something about he can look at children and know they mitochondrial malfunctions.
I can't even, like, it's so dangerous what's happening. It is so dangerous. And I do not even want, if I promise that if you leave a comment defending RFK, it will just be deleted. So don't even bother. Okay. So anyway, because I could go on and on about his worm brain and his heroin addict and like how much damage he is doing to our future. But that's another story. I'm getting
Absolutely. Yes.
I want to jump in on a few things you were saying. So
Mhm.
Epstein, Virgo is ruled by the Virgin and Estrella and the whole protector of women and children. So I do think there is something there. When you look at eclipse season, what you're looking at is it's a season, right? It's like the eclipse can happen and it can be like right on that September 7th, or it can be right on that September 21st. But I'm going to say, like, we are in eclipse season this whole September. So everything that's happening now, and we're seeing so much unfolding right now that does have big implications, like the CDC, people, like the head being fired, and then people walking out. But then to what you were saying as well, like this weekend, it was trending that our dear leader was no longer living. That was trending on Twitter, and no one had seen him or heard from him in days, which, as we all know, is very uncommon. So clearly there's something going on with that, because we still haven't seen like a public, him
We
talking.
haven't heard a word out of his mouth.
No.
There's truthies, whatever his fake Twitter is. There's pictures of him.
I mean,
I
and I
think there was
believe
a
that he's alive. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not like conspiracy theorying, but
something's wrong.
there was hours where they were posting on Twitter about the fact, like, where is this guy? What's happening? And frankly, the fact that he immediately wasn't on the phone with Fox News should tell us all something. That they had to just stage a very far away picture to just show us that he's still living is kind of shocking in itself. So, like, every day there is like these really damaging, shocking stories. Today, I know that the head of India, Modi, the head of China, Xi, and Putin are all meeting together and forming an alliance, which should be incredibly front page news and alarming to everyone, because it's the antithesis of everything that we have been standing for 50 years. And yet, it is probably most people are not even aware that it's happening. And so this week, I think there is going to be this acceleration of crazy news. I think it is going to have to do with health. I think it's going to have to do with workers. There could be some stuff about the economy. The economy may not be on very solid ground, and we start to see that very quickly. Like that's something that could happen as well. So are there specific predictions that you have for the
Well,
September 7th?
Well, you said some great stuff. Virgo is a sign of poverty. So that's important that you said something about the economy. It was announced I think it was like last Friday or so. It was right around the new moon. Maybe it was earlier. A lot of countries are no longer sending mail to the US because of this tariff. That before, it used to be if something was under the value of $800, there was a de minimis exemption.
Yeah.
And that translates to the law doesn't bother with trifles. And that's so Virgo. Virgo is trifles. Virgo is like looking at every single detail of something and, wanting like every single piece. So in these tariff wars, now the United States has essentially created an embargo against itself, thanks to the genius. And how is this impacting people? Me personally, I used to get Oracle decks from a company in Australia. They would send them to me, and then I would use them in my program, my Astro and my Oracle. I got a message, we can't send them to you anymore because we can't do it. People are like have ordered stuff and they can't get it. There are people who are going to lose their livelihoods overnight almost because of this issue, where they can no longer get the goods from overseas that are part of their products they make and things like that. So these things have big implications for us. So big economy news is quite possible. And the United States has a Libra midheaven. So when we talk about the president, he's represented by things going on in Libra. Can I show my
Please do. Let me hit the share multiple participants. There you go.
Okay, let me show my this chart. Okay, I'm going to just start with the United States. Anime bi-wheel. And let's go to Friday because you brought up how it started trending on Twitter, how Donald Trump was dead, and that was that August 25th? No, 29th. Okay. So this is the United States chart in the middle, and this is the transits on the outside, meaning this is where the planets were on the Friday when it started trending. The 10th house is rules the executive branch, the and the people who work there. The midheaven is the president. Mars was at 14 degrees of Libra on the Saturn, and people were saying he was dead. Literally, Saturn rules death. And Mars, people were speculating that maybe he had some kind of attack and had died. So astrology is really literal. And at the time, the moon was in Scorpio, and Scorpio rules death and rebirth.
Well, it
So people
also rules hidden things like,
hit it.
a cover up,
Yes.
like a health cover up.
And the moon was approaching to make a square with his Mars and Leo on his ascendant. So he could have, for all we know, he had some kind of procedure. We have no idea what was going on, but he still hasn't been seen. And he loves to talk. So I don't believe for a second, like you said, that nothing's wrong. Something is wrong. We will see when we find out what's going on. But yeah, and this is one of the biggest things I don't know a lot of people think about. Saturn and Neptune are in the sign of Aries. Well, they were. Saturn's back in Pisces now. But they're going to meet at 0 degrees of Aries on February 20th of next year, but they're moving together down there a lot. And that's our IC, our foundation. And all of these tariffs are causing the foundations of our economy to be Saturn is structures and Neptune weakens them. They're like weakening us in so many different ways. They're weakening us health wise with these decisions. Like measles is at a 30-year high. Now people can't get COVID vaccines unless they go jump through a bunch of hoops. It's fine if you don't want it, but there are people who want it who are going to have difficulty getting it from their doctor unless they like really
I
try to
won't be
prove
able,
it.
I won't be able to get it. I don't have any pre-existing conditions. I'm not 65. I'm going to have to take my son to his asthma specialist that lives an hour away to get approval for it. So yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. And to your point, this Saturn, Neptune traveling together on the descendant, we're seeing
Yeah.
everything crumbling, like the dismantling. It's not even crumbling, it's an actual like dismantling, and it's no longer the chainsaw wielding Elon Musk. I mean, it's much more like a purging of people that are in disagreement. So now we have like our counterterrorism division. We have we have troops on the streets that are who before maybe were productive members of society, but now they are you know for show carrying guns and picking up trash. So this is a really interesting time, because you have to look, this is the United States Sibley chart. So that's what Celeste pulled up. She pulled up the chart of our country, and there is this kind of like really tough time. And that Saturn traveling together with Neptune, like it's like you don't even see, like the Neptune allows for kind of this um blind spot
Mhm.
of the challenging things that are to come, because Saturn does have a lot to do with consequences.
Very karmic. And you can think about Aries moves the military. So you brought up military on the streets. Yeah, absolutely. This is symbolic of all that. And it's the last time they met was in 1989, and the event associated with it was the the Berlin Wall coming down and the United USSR falling apart. And we have it down there at our IC, which is very concerning. And the president keeps talking about all this money the government is getting from taxes, I mean, tariffs. Tariffs are taxes that are paid by the people who, by the companies who bring it in, and then they pass them on to the consumers. So we're paying these tariffs that are being bragged about, and it's just it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
and Pisces,
Everything feels like crazy making, and that's also Neptune on the descendant. Like
the IC.
Neptune is like excuse me, thank you, the IC. That is where you feel like, Neptune is can be delusion, it can be where you just don't see things clearly, you're in a fog, and it also can be mental illness, like a break from reality. And I do feel like to some degree with this pressure that it's been under with Saturn, it hasn't been allowed to blossom the way that Neptune can blossom. Like Neptune can be like fanciful and creative and spiritual, but with Saturn there, it's like this drag where it's like it's feeling very boxed in, and I think it's like not expressing itself in a very healthy way.
Exactly. Yeah. It's and the IC is opposite the MC. So this is the president, the MC at the top, and the IC is the house of the opposing party. The fourth house is the house of the opposing party and the rebels. And look at who's becoming a mythical hero. That can be like Neptune and Aries for standing up and giving it to the president. Like Gavin Newsom is really being amplified. J.B. Pritzker, the Illinois governor, is being amplified. The uh, what do you call it? And people are other people are talking about the president, saying, like Wall Street was saying, he's crazy and a terrible leader. Saturn is in the sign of its fall. So people are waking up with Uranus. Uranus and Gemini is a wake up call to the fact that this man knows this has a clue about what he's doing, and the decisions he's making. Pluto in Aquarius in the second house of our resources are causing the massive catastrophe. Remember when the bond mark people started selling off bonds, and it was like, oh my God, what's happening? Financial consequences to the masses of people in the country and outside of the country. And with Uranus here making this grand trine, it's chaotic change where there's constant reversals and back and forth and destabilizing. So this is what the country is experiencing, this energy, which is having a really wide impact on us. And I
Yeah.
forgot to say, Mars is now we're on this week on Wednesday. Oh, Mars square Jupiter. This is a big thing too. On September, it's on September 3rd. But Mars, what actions are being taken by the 10th house, the executive branch, and the squares are tense. And the United States is a Cancer sun, so you can think about what actions are being taken to attack the 8th house, like the debt or wealth of our country. There's something I think with Modi and Putin and Z, they may come have decided to do something that we don't know about that could be announced this week or this month that has a big impact on the country. And it could be something related to Virgo or Pisces, like something that they just, whoo, something you wouldn't even be on your radar
Yeah.
that's gone. Mm. Or, yeah, that's a real problem.
Let's look up September 7th.
Okay. So I called this I give my little names to things. And I wrote this last year, severance packages. So I thought it was going to be a lot about people being laid off, um, because the South Node, which makes a big sucking sound, is in the sign of Virgo. So hours, let me move back and see. Okay, so the lunar eclipse is at 15 degrees. So the sun is at 15 degrees of Virgo in the ninth house, which rules foreign affairs. And the south node makes a big sucking sound. And Nick Dagenbest, who you had on the program, he really described this energy well about how when the sun and Mercury are diving into the south node and there's things coming we don't even see, and the sun rules leaders, and Mercury rules trade, communication, transportation. The third house has themes of the media, the um, local transportation like trains, planes, and like airport lounges. We may be seeing action happening there, but I'm thinking there could be some kind of cyber attacks. There was already one in Las Vegas where like the DMV was down. People couldn't even go to the DMV. And so, why are we being attacked like this? What is going on in the government? Have they fired all the people who are supposed to be keeping our systems safe? South Node in Virgo, and what will be something that happens? Or could it be like what I said with them telling us something that we didn't know, or them taking a unified approach to do something? Now, there's also, to we sent warships to the Caribbean, right near, is it Nicaragua where Maduro is? No, what's this
No,
company? What's his country called?
Venezuela?
Venezuela, sorry.
That's okay. I wasn't following that particular news. So
Yes, we sent all of these ships and Navy ships and nuclear powered submarines to Venezuela. Over, this is a foreign place, and there's seas involved. And the sixth house has to do with the people of the military, and Uranus is in Gemini. I don't know. Something's coming, I think, that's embarrassing to the nation. Hopefully, it's something small and not something big, but I'm very concerned about what's coming in relationship that we don't see coming. That's a surprise. When Uranus goes retrograde on Friday, that's maybe where it's revealed, because retrogrades pull back the tape so we can see what's underneath it. And we didn't know before we saw it. In
yeah,
Gemini,
there has been a lot of like card readers and psychics and a lot of people predicting the untimely demise of he who shall not be named. But I have always kind of been like, well, we'll see, right? Like I don't make these big bold declarations, but I do follow a lot of the chatter that in the political circles. And there just started to be all this new political chatter asking Vance if he was ready to step in to be the president. No one had been asking that question, and now they didn't ask that when he was running, right? And so now, like, it's interesting that's coming to life. And the conspiracy theorist Alex Jones was saying something on his channel about how he will not be named is not looking good, and that he may not finish his term. So, you kind of start to put all of this stuff together, and there seems to be something happening. And the South Node being in Virgo does tell me that there is something going on with health. And so we need to, and let's look at our own personal lives, pay attention to your own personal health, because this is going to have a square from Uranus, which could potentially mean that, something surprising or shocking can come out of the blue. We hear, they just came out with numbers that said that, the economy is growing. But I live in Silicon Valley or in the, the Bay Area, and I'll tell you the layoffs are stacking up. So many people I personally know are out of work, calling me, asking me, to keep them in mind for, if I hear anything. So that is growing, and it may not be getting the kind of coverage that you've seen in the past, but there is something about workers and something unexpected. I mean, Mark Benioff was bragging today that because of AI, they were able to reduce Salesforce by 4,000 employees. They're bragging about this.
And they're going to be able to reduce more and more. Computers don't need six time. Computers don't take vacations. If they're allowed to, they will start replacing and replacing and replacing people with computers, robots, and all this stuff. And
So oh, I'm sorry.
I called Uranus retrograde. A robot took my job.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's retrograde into next year, into March or maybe even April. Maybe
Yeah.
not
I
that
think that
long,
this is
February
going to
through
be
March or something.
yeah, I think it's going to be a big time of surprising news that people aren't prepared for. And I also think there is something, to the fact that the AI bubble may burst as well. So here we've laid off all these people with the vision of what AI can be, and it may not be what what the hype is. Everything, these companies are very overvalued right now. This happened during the dot-com burst. We still have the internet, right? We still have, online shopping, but the hype around it in the beginning, the bubble got so big that it burst and it had to kind of come back down to reality. And I think we're getting to that place. You see Sam Altman talking about that even. So at the point at which they're even talking about it, I think that this eclipse has something to do with karma, course correction, and I think in our own personal lives, the best way to deal with whatever comes at us, if you have sensitive points at Virgo or Pisces, or your own aspects are triggered by this eclipse, lay low. That would be my advice, is kind of don't try to take on new projects. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Really kind of let the dust settle this week as this eclipse unfolds and we get the information that is coming at us. And don't panic, because have faith that you'll be okay, even if it feels very jarring in the moment.
Yeah. And so you see, Mercury is hidden under the beams of the sun, so we cannot see it yet. And it's coming to square the ascendant, which is like the people and the image of the country, and the descendant, which is our allies and our open enemies. So there is this energy of, and Mercury meets the sun on September 13th. So we may get a big announcement we weren't expecting from overseas, or it could be like the courts, something from the Supreme Court, or the ninth is a ninth house topic, or something, something like that. And yeah, China could announce some AI thing that's like leagues above NVIDIA or something. I mean, we have no idea what's coming with this AI bubble. It could be a big thing that we
Yeah.
need to be aware of with this Saturn and Neptune down here. It's like we're on shaky, it's almost like we're on a little bit of quicksand. And if we had the right leaders, it wouldn't be, we could get through it. But it's really concerning that we have what we have.
Yeah.
But we will, this too, I feel like it's really hard what we're going through. But on the other side, with Pluto and Aquarius, I'm thinking people are rising up to say enough is enough. You are not going to let 70% or whatever the world's wealth stay with three people, or 100 people, or 1,000 people, or whatever it is. And that people are going to start saying enough is enough and demanding demanding that things get better.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So that's this. But this eclipse, there could be weather related events, Pisces with storms, a very big winds with Uranus going retrograde trine Pluto that impact people. It's kind of like cyclone-y kind of energy. Venus is on a world point of 15 Leo in the eighth house. So that to me, a world point means something's going to get a lot of attention. So we already know that, the president's infirm and who knows, the chariot might swing low. But Venus also rules the sixth house, and that's workers. So when Uranus goes retrograde, a tech company can announce, oh, we're getting rid of 50,000 people. Yay! That sort of thing. So we'll see Friday. That's coming. And we'll be seeing things happening through the next year. I wonder if at some point Americans or people around the world somewhere are going to go on a general strike because the next eclipse, the solar eclipse, is at 29 Virgo, the sign of the worker, a degree of crisis and decay.
This is the one that I worry the most about the economy.
Hmm.
Do you know what day of the week it is? I didn't look. A
It
Sunday.
is Sunday.
Okay. So, eclipses, like I said, it's several days either side. Frankly, it can be months, like where as things unfold, but like within the week or two is when you really can get a feel for what's topically up. But in the eighth house of, other people's resources. I mean, I guess this is just the
Well, this
exact
is set to Washington,
Washington
D.C., so
DC.
it tells us kind of what is happening with the country. The leader, and this is a world point 15. So world points are 0 and 22 and a half of the cardinal signs, 15 of the fixed signs, and 7.5 of the mutable signs. And you can search my name, Celeste Brooks, and Kepler College. I did a whole presentation about it. But the midheaven is so close to 15 Scorpio, the sign of death and debt and taxes. That's very visible, ruled by Mars at the 29th degree of crisis and decay in Libra. Like this feels like a diplomatic crisis. It could be an air. Libra's an air sign, air crisis. Relationships can feel like they're in crisis. Diplomatic partnerships can fall apart. And the ascendant at 21 Capricorn is really close to 22 and a half of a cardinal sign. So I'm calling that a world point. And Capricorn rules governments. So I'm thinking this is big government news, and I'm concerned about the debt. Like, what if they decide, oh, we're going to start selling off our debts or treasury bonds or things like that? This is something I'm a little concerned about with this. Or it can be just people are finding out they're losing their jobs. They can't get some of the vegetables they used to be able to get because there are not enough farm laborers to work with the farms.
And
Yeah.
this eclipse is opposed to Saturn.
Opposed to
And
Saturn. So something's limited, something's delayed, something comes to an end. There's a boundary. I called it last rites, WRITES. And it could be someone who's passing on, getting, the priest or the preacher praying over them. It could be like prescription pad I get because Virgo's Earth. Okay, you can't take Plan B anymore. Sorry. Or maybe you just can't get it in the mail. Like Kennedy could come up with some kind of thing like that. I get last rites. Maybe you work for, I don't know, Google, and you can't code anymore. You wrote your last piece of code because you got laid off because AI has taken your job. There could be a lot of last rites, or like TikTok is changing their algorithm of stuff, or other places. Maybe if you write anything about politics, all of a sudden you're being shadow banned or banned, or we'll see. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
that
things
that
that
would
is
go with the
going on.
29 Mars in Libra, like, trying to appease people, make them happy, but restricting based on, certain people's beliefs. I definitely see this as, for some reason, to me, this whole September just feels like um the beginning of chickens coming home to roost. It's kind of like this is the month that like really kind of like shakes people up. Kind of like in April when the first tariffs were announced and everyone was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" But then he pulled back and things kind of, there's something going to happen, and I wish we could be more precise, and we're trying to give examples of what could happen based on the news and the astrology and the symbols. This does have to do with Israel. This has, all of it is interconnected at this point. Every single bit of what is happening in the world is interconnected, and we can't deny that. And so these earthquakes, these massive endings that we're seeing, is ushering in some kind of new world. But I'm seeing so much more, and maybe it's just my algorithm, but I am seeing it so much more on YouTube and other places where people are talking about how they cannot afford the basic necessities.
Me
And that
too.
people are talking about how the system is rigged against them, the people. And that has been language that's been happening for a few years. People have been, their consciousness has been raised somewhat by like Bernie Sanders, but it is accelerating. I feel like that people are finally saying like, wait a minute, nobody is serving us, the people. And there is kind of more this outcry, like the protests today were about, for workers. And
Oh,
so
I wasn't aware there were. Oh, because
there
it's
were
a Labor
Labor
Day.
Day
Okay.
protests, but it was a protesting against what's happening and in favor of workers' rights. And I'm seeing so many more things that explain unions to people. The vast majority of our life, unions were just taken for granted, or they were demonized to
They
some.
were demonized. They came together to give people rights against the abuses of the robber barons. And and like Trump even told people, I'm bringing back the Gilded Age. And could somebody have Googled what the Gilded Age is before they went in and voted for this? No. They're
Apparently
just like,
not.
oh,
Apparently
okay.
not. Now, and I still have people who like swear that the economy has gotten better and that there are no new wars, and that, we're reducing waste, fraud, and abuse. We'll see how that ages, but I think this September is going to really shake some people to their foundation on a political front. And it could have to do with the Epstein stuff. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
because it's beginning with, you said on the 3rd, Congress is coming back into session. People have not forgotten. I mean, it hasn't been in the news, but they have not forgotten. And so that could rock a lot of very elite, powerful people's lives. And frankly, whatever side of the aisle they're on, I don't care. I hope it does rock their lives if they were part of something so horrendous.
You
And
know, Bill
that's where,
Clinton has a lot of Libra energy. And I got this, like, I get psychic hits. And at the beginning of the year, I wrote something about how the two leaders on the way to the plane in a limousine, and I was getting the image of Trump and Clinton going to Epstein Island. Like they both may get scrutiny on them from what is coming from this. And I wrote down that this solar eclipse, accountability begins. Virgo counts. It has associations with accountability. What is it accountability for? Well, some of these lawsuits about people in New York, I know in New York, the lawsuit is moving forward where there was like a district where had zero Kamala Harris votes, but a lot for Kristen Hildebrand or Hillebrand, the
Yeah,
Democratic.
I haven't been following that stuff as
Yeah.
closely. But I will say that first of all, this is for entertainment purposes only. We are
Oh
not
yeah.
trying to slander anyone. We do, we do our best as astrologers to give you information, but we don't have inside information. This is just based on what we read in the news plus what we see in the charts. So
Yeah.
when it comes to the US, I think that it's almost like silly to say, but expect that this is going to be a very tumultuous month with big consequences. I know that that's been happening for months now, so it feels
Yeah.
almost
And
trite.
it's well, and it's symbol. It's been happening for months because Saturn and Neptune have been hovering around. We can see it
Yeah,
energetically around um, our
yeah.
IC for months.
And
So
these eclipses feel a little bit more potent because the first one has a square from Uranus, and Uranus is in Gemini for the first time in many of our lifetimes, for most of our lifetimes, and then the second one is opposing Saturn. So we've got a couple hard aspects that make both of these more challenging eclipses. So how can you in your own personal life integrate this? Okay, so the
yeah,
whole theme of this month is letting go of perfectionist tendencies, because that's what we're being challenged to do, is to give. And Celeste has to tell me this all the time: give yourself a break.
yes,
um you're not perfect, so in your own personal life, identify places where you hold yourself to an unrealistic standard. And Pisces has to do with spiritual attainment. It has to do with faith. It has to do with belief. It has to do with uh, the clouds and the sea and poetry and music and dance and all the things that make the world actually really juicy and loving and wonderful to be in. So find ways to do those things. Find ways to take care of yourself. So, Celeste, I'm going to let you talk about your course in a minute. I want to plug mine really quickly, that I have a workshop on the 20th for Chiron, because I do think this is a very challenging month. And so if you are feeling like your life has been one challenge after the next, you're carrying around old wounds, old pain from the past, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the archetype of Chiron in our chart and how we can turn that old story around and bring it into the present, and where you have wisdom and purpose, and how that pain can be something that is transmuted into a beautiful gift. And so it's only a $34 workshop. It will be live. So I'm going to talk for about an hour, and then I'm going to get to as many people's personal chirons as possible to kind of give that sort of insight. And if you can't make it, it will be available as a recording. And so that information's below. And then Celeste, you've got a class. You want to talk a little bit about your class?
yes. My class is called The Proper Care and Feeding of Your Moon. What you'll get is a really deep dive into the moon in your natal chart. So you'll learn about your moon sign, as well as what house it's in and any aspects it's making. You'll also work with the daily transiting moon. The whole reason I felt called to do this course right now is to give people a tool to help them get, it's like, find some a peace within. Pisces energy really is about trusting, faith, like the surrender, and by working with and Virgo, having a routine where you're ritualizing it, Pisces, in order to help yourself stay more grounded as we move through this time of tremendous, tremendous change. And so what you get, you'll get several pre-recorded videos, and then we'll meet twice in person where I'll do as many chart demonstrations as I can. I mean, this course is chock full of information, and it's appropriate for if you're new to astrology or even seasoned astrologers, because I feel like the moon gets short shrift. And it's so important because it rules our subconscious, our instincts, and our behaviors and our habits, how we need to feel safe and secure. So, like when you do something, you're like, why did I do that? It's likely coming from your moon and you can't really see it. The sun is our conscious mind and the moon is our subconscious mind. So, exploring the subconscious can help you bring things to your conscious attention, and you'll learn about your partners, your children's, because you can figure out where their moons are too. So it's $97 and it's chock full of information, and then you will get tools that you can continue to use throughout your life as you move forward, and a way to find center in times of stress and trouble.
Lovely. Yeah. And I think and if you don't have the money for the $34 workshop or the $97 course, like there are still wonderful free resources out there on my channel, on Celeste's channel, on a lot of people's channels that we love and we can recommend. So, many of you have seen us on Susan Lynn. So, Susan Lynn has her spiritual network channel where she gives very grounded advice. But I would say this month, we may all get like a collective sigh of relief in October, but just recognize that this is a month where there's going to be a lot of intensity. And, this is one that's been on a lot of astrologers' radars. And the eclipses always bring surprises. So we can't exactly tell you for sure what's going to happen, but we can tell you something's going to happen, both in your personal life and in the collective. Like, I did a video where I was saying that the last new moon, since it was at 0 Virgo, is being bookended by this one at 29 Virgo. And we had all sorts of pet drama, and like one of our cats ran away. And so, and Virgo rules pets. So there's definitely juice in there for you to look at and to see. Celeste, do you want to pick a couple cards for the eclipses?
Oh, before we do that, I
You've
want
got
to
something
tell
else?
you. So there's two things I should have said. Number one, with the Pisces lunar eclipse, you're going to get full illumination about something. And it can be on the Virgo Pisces axis. It can be about health. Somebody may be exposed to you, like they have a drug problem, or they're going broke and about to lose their home. They've lost their job. Like these are some of the things that are coming into your conscious awareness, or someone has dementia or is losing their faculties or their mind, or is slipping away from life, like somebody could be dying. So just be aware that that could be the news that you're coming, and you may have already gotten it, but this is kind of the news. And then eclipse season has there's something called the Saros series, and it's like the nature of the eclipse. And Bernadette Brady defined all these. She's an amazing astrologer. And this one is called Nine New South, and worry about loved ones, health, paperwork, or communication are themes that people are dealing with whose charts are impacted. And your chart is impacted if you have anything near 15 of the mutable signs, which are Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, and Sagittarius, and then 15 or 29 of those signs, especially you're being impacted. And you're worried about your loved one, Dabney, is your cat. My little doggy is sick. My partner has some stuff that is related to that his own family has some things going on. And so health, if you're traveling, really take care of your health. Watch what's going on health-wise. If you haven't seen the zombie rabbits or the rabbits with the horns and the deers with these warts all over them, that's a sign when we see animals starting to have these weird, freaky diseases because their Saturn, Neptune are coming together. That's a classic illness transit. And Saturn rules the skin. Their skin is getting all funky. Um, this can be a sign that something eventually is coming for human beings. So pay attention to health stuff. And it may be years down the line, but you know,
Yeah,
um,
and this, it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. So
yeah.
we do want to say
Oh
that.
yeah, there's wonderful things. Oh, let me be that doom and gloom.
No, no, no. I was gonna. I had some here. You can be not doom and gloom for a minute.
Okay, it's a perfect time to learn the choreography because Pisces is music and dance and
Hmm.
yeah, and taking you to another world and fanciful and creativity. You can do your magnum opus. You can make your most creative thing you've ever done in your life. Um, yeah, but the Gap company, the Gap, did
Hmm.
this commercial with Cat's Eye, this group that's international. They have people of all different cultures, these gorgeous women who is a group, and it's Cats with Katseie. And it is going viral because the choreography is so incredible. And there are videos that show you how to do the choreography. And it was a response to the Sydney Sweeney eugenics, my genes are better than yours ad. And but they're doing and they use the song Milkshake from the like
Oh
90s.
yeah.
And it's my
Kellis.
milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. It's better than yours. I could teach you, but I'd have to charge. And they've got all this. It's so much
Oh, that's cute.
fun. I'm in here
I have,
dancing and doing it.
yeah, that's
So
very cute. Yeah.
anything you
So,
can do to move your body
yep.
and get in nature can bring joy and pleasure.
Yeah. And so
And
you're
sex. Have a lot of sex if you can.
this lady. So many things can play
That's
out.
my plan.
And so if you know someone who is struggling, reach out to them. But also don't take it on. That's the thing. This can be a time when people leave the planet. A Pisces lunar eclipse. I mean, there's people who might just be like, I'm done. They're wrapping things up. So we are in an endings phase. So keep that in mind that this whole time, actually for the next several months, is going to be about wrapping things up. It's going to be about endings. There are going to be people that are going to leave the planet, but we don't know what their purpose is beyond that. There is something there's no real endings, right? It's only a new
I
beginning.
know someone's going to talk the devil's ear off.
What are you talking
Just kidding.
about?
I
Okay.
shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. You can delete it.
I don't know what it means, but
Somebody keeps talking about how they want to go to heaven and they're sending fundraising emails to their
oh,
people
okay.
about
Well,
how
I'm
they
glad we
want.
explained that because yes, exactly. That could be the ending that we're seeing coming. But then we've got a whole
Maybe not,
new chapter that we're going to be gearing up to explore. So the next several months is going to portend a lot of endings in all of our lives, but let's really take a step back on the personal level and realize that endings don't always have to be, they can feel painful, they can feel shocking, they can feel stressful, and they are often necessary for the new beginning. So,
Yes.
this is about endings to prepare for a beginning. And I can't say exactly when that new beginning is, but this is really kind of the tip of like, we're hitting a tipping point. So let's see
Mhm.
what the cards say. Yeah.
Yes. Do you have a question or you want me to
Well,
just
I would like, so I don't know, do you want to do a card pull for the September 7th and the September 21st, or do you want to do just a card pull for
okay,
September?
let me do a card pull for the September 7th lunar eclipse.
Okay.
Do you want me to center it in the US or just
Yeah,
anywhere?
I
Just
mean, I think that right now
US.
I mean, we could go elsewhere, but I think majority of people who watch this channel are focused on US politics,
Okay, let's see
even
what
though
we
we're
get.
impacted by it all. So it all kind of, it kind of,
Ugh.
yeah. Ugh.
Oh,
Ooh,
so I got first disaster wreckage. So
okay.
there could be, a
That's a
hurricane or
plane or,
whatever,
okay.
but moon unclear,
Hmm.
something unclear. Now, there was an astrologer who was predicting when Trump comes back out, because we haven't heard a word from him, that his speech might be impacted. So that could be that. I mean, that would be kind of like if there was a problem where he had to talk and then people can't really understand him, that could be something, or maybe
Yeah, like a
not.
stroke or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Or this could be something else, but there could be some kind of disaster thing. And then taken by force. So that could be 25th Amendment where they have to, you
Mm.
know, they have to do it. So this could be that. It could be other things, but just keep your mind open when you see stories and see where all three cards are exemplified.
Yep, 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 that's interesting. Okay, so let's
Or
look.
this could be about the Epstein's girls,
Mhm.
women.
Yeah.
Like they were poor. They were in a disaster situation and it wasn't clear what they were being told, and then they
Or the,
wind
like,
up in
suppressing. It's been suppressed all this time. Like it's been hidden this whole time.
yeah, and then taken to this island place.
Yep.
And then underneath it all, the classified documents. So there's something like I got a hit about why are with the Kennedy brothers being talked about, like RFK and JFK, like maybe trying to distract people from that,
Well, and it could
talking
be
about
something
their
about
assassination papers are released or
or any
something.
classified documents that were stored in a bathroom,
Ah,
that, you know, what was in those, right? And
ah.
could that then lead to something that happens around the eclipse as
Or
well?
we find out what Doge did with a lot of our information.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's supposedly Starlink sent our stuff through that could have been exposed through Russian satellites and stuff. Yeah, that could be something
All
that
right, give
comes
me the
up.
21st.
Okay. Yeah, you got to keep me on track or I'll just keep talking. I talk about the president never shutting up and look at me. Okay. The eclipse for the US for the 21st. What are some themes that will be coming up with
The
that?
diehards that stayed with us, that stayed through this whole video, are going to be in for a treat with your cards. So,
Yes. Okay. So the first card is society collapse. So that makes me think about Gaza. And there was recently news that some plans, what was in today's news, some plans to turn it into a Riviera. I call it Riviera Sticks, a luxury resort. I mean, it's so ghoulish and disgusting. I can't even. Banking currency. So, see, this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried there's going to be some big problem that's related to finances or currency. What's with this? Yeah. And then assistance help. Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
Well, so,
We'll see.
I think I've always said it's people voted for this nonsense based on their pocketbooks, and it could be, we have to kind of hit some level of crisis before people will
Mhm.
come together for, and there has to be help that on the way, and we
Mhm.
have to be open to it. So we'll see. I don't know.
We'll see. All for the money on the bottom.
Well, that's really interesting though. So, and that is the clips that I have my eye on for a potential financial issue. It is on a Sunday. So, that's interesting, but we'll see.
The thing could happen days
But it doesn't,
before or the
right,
day
days after.
after
Right.
the
Like
sun
it's,
goes into Libra.
yeah. So everybody, don't panic. It's going to be okay. I know this was a
Yeah.
little bit of a heavier video, but I did want to tell you that again, the endings portend new beginnings, and I think that we are all ready for some fresh new energy, but we've got to get through the next few months
Yeah.
of revisiting some of the crumb bummery that's been taking place.
Yeah, Pisces and Virgo eclipses in general aren't really cheery. I mean, in general, but Taylor Swift, she got engaged. That's her eclipse story. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
there's
yeah. And so
wonderful
find your
things
own
that
eclipse
happen every
story.
day.
Yeah.
The Gap ad, that's I'm in love with it. Yeah, because it brings back all this nostalgia. So go watch an old movie that you just love. Put on old records that will and dance to the things that really you love. That's how you can work with this energy and feel the positive and have hope and faith that we're going through this hard time, but on the other side, there's going to be a newer, fairer world. It's what I'm hoping. I mean,
We
that's
have
what I
to,
have to hold on hope.
right.
And it's kind of exciting. Like it's like we're watching a movie that's ridiculous, but it keeps
No,
us
we're living in
engaged.
idiocracy, but I do think it is a time for us to personally heal. I just had another astrologer named James Burgess, and like the thing that struck me the most that he said, Celeste, was
Yeah,
like we are in the 100% unknown, unprecedented. We have no idea what's going to happen because this is crazy astrology and crazy times, right? Crazy astrology leads to crazy times. And when you don't know what's going to happen next, when you don't have that predictability, is really when your faith and your healing and, all of this arises in you because it's where you get to what really matters the most. And you really just hone in on things like you turn off the QVC or you don't waste your money on tickets to Disney. Like you do what really, and if that's the thing that is, I wouldn't say QVC is ever healing for anybody, but whatever is healing for you, focus on health and healing this month. Okay, that's our advice.
absolutely.
Thank you for coming
Absolutely.
on, friend.
Thank you for having me.
It's always
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you. And yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
think,
everybody, we're just going back to go forward. So
yeah.
stay strong. Leave comments below about what you're going through during this time because I read all the comments and Celeste reads the comments too, and we'll chime in and do what we can't do readings on these comments. It's too much, too hard. But feel free to share whatever's coming up for you. Okay, so there is a reason and a season for it all. The universe is conspiring to help us. And we are grateful for your presence and allowing us to unpack all this stuff that's going on in the world right now. So, keeping a good thought for, well, I won't say it, but
Well, yeah,
you
I
can read
think
my
I
mind.
wrote that we're going to be dancing in the streets this Wednesday. Somewhere people will be dancing in the streets. I hope it's for a positive reason.
That's
And
right.
so there is going to be joyous things happening. Venus is in Leo.